Welcome everyone, this is Jeff from Half-Fast Gaming. I have a little video here for you today. Did an online race in a RUF GT3 car, and I wanted to show you the playstyle on the PS4 version of Project Cars. And let me show you right off the bat. As you can see, there is just carnage on the start right off the bat. I decided after a few different online races to start from the back, thus removing me from the pinball machine, and so now I can carry on with my race. I started in last here at Monza, and ended up in first, so I'm going to walk you through a couple of things and how I carried on with it. Made a small mistake there going into the chicane, and then of course the car in front of me had spun out, but then immediately rejoined the track without paying attention to who was around. I let these cars kind of battle it out a little bit, end up riding the curb and going off the side of the track there, losing some time to the car behind. I ended up letting him through because I was fairly certain that he would end up crashing into the back of me, as we do play with children on PS4. Down the back straight here, I've decided against making a move and braked a little early and still messed up my line, unfortunately out of Parabolica. Now coming down the front straight, we're going to have a lot of speed. You really got to get your braking point just right here, because there's a very sharp right-left chicane, which is about 40 miles an hour in these cars. So as you can see, the car in front of me just went flying through the chicane. Now he's facing a penalty, and then the car that was in front of him ends up trying to get around him, but he was already spun out and going slow, so he ends up cutting in front of me and I slam into him. We're coming up to the second chicane. I brake and get hit from behind from no less than the car that originally spun out and cut me off in the first place. So hopefully we're going to work on getting by him here in the next few corners. Now he's already taken two poor corners there, so we're going to have a good run at him at the end of this straight, I think. But I don't think we make a move into Ascari. So yeah, we haven't quite caught up to the back of him yet. But he does make a few mistakes there, and we'll try to capitalize at the end of the straight. Now I move to the left, and then he moves to the left on top of me, so I go back over to the right, and then he starts moving right, so I just brake early and let him do his thing. We're going to have a good run out of Parabolica here onto the front straight, and we're going to end up following him real close and pulling a nice toe in the draft. I pull right, and then he immediately pulls into me, but I hit my braking marker and he goes flying through the chicane, and he is now facing a penalty. Then he pulls it back into me again as I'm coming up to him, but thankfully we're well and truly ahead of him now. Coming into the second chicane now, I hit my braking marker pretty well, Good turn in. Now we're catching the car ahead again. I make a small mistake and go off the road there, so I miss a braking point. But we are still catching the car ahead. We should be right up to the back of him into a scurry, so maybe we can work on the back straight. Now if you notice on the right hand side just after a scurry was a car off the road facing the wrong way. One of the problems I have with this game is that it does not remove the cars that have crashed in a reasonable amount of time, especially if they've blown an engine or they can't continue. At any rate, the car ahead pulls into the pits for an unknown reason, so we're left to ourselves for a little while, so I'll let you enjoy it. Alright, we've caught up to this BMW pretty quickly. Unfortunately, there's a very weird graphical error going on with this replay file, and his bumper seems to be flailing around a bit. He totally misses his braking point here, and we slow down enough, he goes off track. And now there is another car directly ahead of us. I take a very poor line through there. And we'll try to work on him for the front straight, maybe. Totally missed my braking point for Parabolica, which really screws up your front straight speed. The whole point of the Parabolica is to kind of shoot you off from that corner into the front straight so you're at the maximum speed before the braking point, which I do not achieve. Either way, I end up braking early because I'm not going as fast as I normally would be, but I pull a nice line through the chicane, and we're back after it. Now on the screen it showed a yellow flag, but of course it doesn't really tell you where the car is. I had to kind of take evasive maneuvers there into the second chicane, so I got a little bit of a bad line, but still did okay. We now have two cars in front of us again. This was a field of 16 to start, so this Z4, I believe it is, got a poor exit out of that last corner, and then I mess up my braking point, try to smoothly come back onto the road, and then he still ends up hitting me off the road somehow, though it was probably more my fault. At any rate, we are next to him going into Parabolica. I was nervous at this point about going into that corner with him, but manages to keep it on the line, and I avoid contact as well. We're coming up to now the car that he got tangled up with a few corners ago. Hopefully we can either make our braking point or outbrake him here. So we've hit our braking point, and he does not, yet he still hits us off in the second part of the chicane, and the car behind has now got in front of him, but we are pulling away. It seems that this car has a reasonable amount of power compared to the other ones in the class, except for the McLaren MP412. Now there's another car in that same yellow flag area sideways. I ended up clipping the front end, but maintaining my orientation, I guess you could say, and keeping the other two cars behind still. So we're just going to plug away here, and hopefully we can catch some other folks that are ahead. One thing that's nice about Monza and coming into that first chicane is you can see the cars that are anywhere from 3 to 7 seconds ahead of you, either going into the chicane or coming out of it on the other side. So it kind of gives you a reference of where, where your lap times need to be and where they're at. Again, we go through that yellow area, and that car has now been pushed around a bit, so again I had to take evasive action. And like I said before, the game doesn't really remove the cars in a reasonable amount of time as far as I'm concerned, so it makes it hard on everybody, as well as the fact that this is at dusk. This race is taking place at dusk, so it's even harder to see, mainly because the other cars have their lights on, but it doesn't show. I'm sure it's a hardware issue with the PS4. It can't show the all of the headlights of all the cars. So now we're coming through Ascari onto the back straight before Parabolica. We're concentrating on that car ahead. We're going to try to take some, get some good lines here and get some good speed out of Parabolica, and looks like we do have a nice line there and right back up to speed, and he did not have such a good line, so I can already see us catching him. Let's see where we can end up here after the chicane. Now he's taking a pretty good line there, compared to most of the other people that have been on this track. But for the McLaren, he seems a little bit slow, so I don't know if he's suffering with some damage or any number of reasons. Maybe he hit this car up here and that's why. No, he's now off the track. Yep, he's cut the corner, so he's paying a penalty right now. It's like a 5-second penalty where you can't accelerate anymore. So we've gotten by him. Now into the back section. to be very clean, make sure he doesn't get back by us, because that car is faster than us in a straight line. So we need to maintain our lines through the corners well. Let's see how we do in Ascari here. Not bad. I took a little too much speed though, and ended up in the gravel a bit. But he is catching up to us, but not as much as I thought he would be. So that's good. Now he's catching us quick. Going to come up to Parabolica. He does not make contact. That was a good braking area. I figured he would actually come around us, but we managed to maintain for now. Now through the first chicane, we hit our braking point perfectly and made the corner very well. We're pulling away already, which I was worried about, though we do have better traction off of the low-speed corners than the McLaren, so we need to make sure we're clean through the rest of it here. And I've made another mistake. Hit the gravel there. But we're back on it. He doesn't seem to be catching us, so he's not taking great lines. We got a car without a wheel on the side of the road. All kinds of carnage. We went pretty well through Ascari there. Coming up to Parabolica, this is the last corner. And we got a good exit. Good line there, coming right out to the rumble strip on the outside. Disabled car in the middle of the road on the left side, which we have to avoid. Hit our braking point. Get the turn in at the chicane. Nice and clean. Good acceleration out. He's still not catching us, so we're doing well. Alright, this is the final lap, so we are maintaining position ahead of this McLaren in first place. Just trying to do everything right to stay ahead and not give in to the pressure. Coming up to Ascari one last time. That was good, very good. Good line there. You'll notice that we went through a car. Sometimes on these replays it does not save the last known position of a car and leaves it in the middle of the track, and it's not there for me in the race, but it's there on the replay for whatever reason. Anyway, we took Parabolica poorly, but he is not able to catch us before the line here, so that is a full race of coming from last place to first place at Monza. We'll see you next time for the next one.